Aloha, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is SprinkleBeard. I will be your host for today. We stream every day over at twitch.tv/SprinkleBeard. Every day between 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So today, we are continuing our review of the Dark Elves. So we've already done our magic rares. We've already done our force rares. Now it's time to get into our spirit rares. All right. So please understand that when we do these evaluations of champions, right now while we're doing this, I've made up numbers in my head that make sense to me. I will explain what those numbers are, and they're kind of what I think a good average is on champions, or it helps me understand if a champion's squishy or if they're going to do good damage or whatnot. But there are other hidden factors in the games that will influence this, right? So, without further ado, we are going to start with the lovely and the amazing Spirit Host. I do like Spirit Host a lot, so I'm a little partial here. HP, we'd like to see that around We'd like to see that around 16,000 HP. So 15 is a little low, but it's not bad. Because she's a support, I would like to see her HP and defense higher, or her speed significantly higher than the stats I'm about to name. But instead of attack being 1200, it's 1000. Instead of defense being 1000, it's below. But speed is above 100. So she does have some good stats here. And then she has just the normal amount of resistance. The bottom four stats on her did not change. However, she does offer one of the first speed auras that you can get in the game. So like day one, you could get to campaign 4, start farming her, or if you get lucky and you just get her as a random drop. She does have a speed aura, which is currently arguably the best aura in the game. Next, her A3 is a removes all debuffs from all allies, so she has an AoE cleanse, and then places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn. So guys, for those of you who are not aware, block debuffs stops all incoming debuffs. So that is a red skill, like a red debuff above your character. It does not stop things like turn meter or putting skills on cooldown is a way to get around this, and that is different than locking skills away from somebody. So there are certain things to get around this. Destruction of HP would be another thing that this does not stop, because that's not a debuff. It's something that affects the health bar. But it's a very amazing skill. The only thing that's kind of bad about it, right, is that it's only for 1 turn. So a lot of times if your team is faster and you were to like put this on your team and they'll just use up the block debuffs. So this is kind of better as like an interrupt skill. If your character goes in between your opponents, or if your opponents put on, like, let's say a defense down on all of your team, and then Spirit Host gets to go, you would want to cleanse that off, right? Or if everybody on your team is frozen. So this makes resist on this character a lot better. Next, she places a 50% attack increase buff on all allies for 2 turns. This in the early game is like your first instance of getting big damage on all of your team. And while you're playing through the main campaign, like on normal and hard, increased attack will help you just plow through everything. There's not a reason that you're going to have a lot of like defense or HP champions unless you pull like a random epic or legendary. And this is even still good in a lot of dungeons as well. Last but not least, she has Reap. Attacks 1 enemy and heals by 50% of the damage inflicted. I really like Spirit Host. I ended up fully booking my Spirit Host, and she performed very well for me. If you were to book her, just try to like place 1 book in her at a time until maybe her A2 and her A3 both get booked. It's not critical that her A1 gets fully booked, although it's only 4 books, so it's not a big deal if you decide to fully book her. Overall, very good champion. You could build things like crit rate and crit damage. Since only 1 skill takes advantage of it, though, it's typically not encouraged, right? You would just pump in as much speed and probably as much resistance as you could. That way that she would always be able to be on standby to use this dark gift. And then after that, you would want HP percentage and defense percentage just to make her as tanky and unkillable as possible. But if you did want to build her as like an offbeat attacker, I don't know why you would, but you could. Yes, you could give her crit chance crit damage, and then, you know, any attack to try to make her A1 probably scales very well with attack. So, without further ado, we're going to move on to our next champion, Hexweaver. Hexweaver is also a rare spirit Dark Elf support. How overly specific. So stat-wise, I'd like to see HP around 16,000, so she has above, that's great. Because she's support, I would like to see defense or speed higher. Defense, I would like to be around 1,200, so she's a little short there. And then attack around 1,000, not a big deal because she's support. She's a little fast, but only, like, she's right in the middle, right? Speed, I'd like to see at 100. And then she got no other increased stats from being 6-star. Increases ally speed and faction crypts by 13%. So faction crypts is not one of the better auras in the game, and in general, I wish that these percentages were a lot higher because of faction crypts. Maybe they're very well balanced for faction crypts, but admittedly, I'm not spending all of my time there. All right, so her A3, Wings of Doom, places a 30% crit rate increase, so that's amazing, and a 15% increase, speed increase on all allies. This is a very good combo. It's a shame that that's not 30% or can't be 30%, because that would make Hexweaver super amazing. This is still a very amazing skill, and the fact that it gets down to 3 turns means that she could perpetually keep her team sped up and their crit rate up. So very amazing skill in the early game. I will admit, as you get higher up, like closer to 6-star, that is not necessarily a skill you would depend on. You would have a lot of your champions just built for having amazing crit rate. But getting through like campaigns and stuff, this would be great. Or while you're first building up your champions, this could be a weight that as long as you keep her alive, you could kind of cheat your teams to having 100% crit rate using this buff. Heals all allies by 15% of their max HP. So great, she's actually an amazing support just off of those 2 skills alone. I now really, really like her. Because I don't have her, I've not been able to notice this. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance, or eventually a 75% chance, of decreasing their accuracy. Decreasing accuracy stops them from landing their debuffs as consistent. It's not the greatest as a support A1, but the fact that her other 2 skills are very good, right? We have an AoE heal on a relatively short cooldown, and then an attack or a crit rate buff equipped with speed. Like, it's just a very good kit. Definitely a very good support. Next, we'll move on to Wanderer. Wanderer, always wandering to the east. Okay. He's an attack champion. So obviously we want that attack stat to be higher, but HP I would like to see around 16,000. It's a little low. Attacks at 1443, that's pretty respectable for a rare. That's in a good place for a rare. Anything above 1400 is really good. Defense is a little low, so between those 2 stats he's squishy. Speed he's slightly slow, but he did get a crit damage increase from being 6-starred. Increases ally attack in all dungeons by 21%. Not bad. Again, we don't really use attack all that often. Still good in the early game, or the earlier dungeons where you're just trying to plow through things. Or eventually if you have like a really good team and you just want them to plow through content, stuff like that can be good. Attacks one enemy will ignore 25% of the target's defense. Pretty good skill. It's even better since he is a spirit champion, so he would want to attack into force. Majority of force champions have a higher defense or more defense inclined, so that's very nice. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Increases the target's turn meter by 10% if this attack is critical. Fills this champion's turn meter by the 10% if the attack is critical. So very nice, you know, decrease their turn meter, increase your own. Very good. Attacks 2 times is not bad. It's nice that it has something attached to it. Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a 15% weaken debuff, and eventually get that up to about a 50% chance. That's actually pretty great. Not a lot of champions have that weaken. Weaken just causes the target to always take an additional 15% damage, so that would help out with him ignoring their defense and the double attack there. Overall, though, a little bit lackluster on the kit. Hopefully the scaling damage on this is a bit higher. But I would not be super excited if you got Wanderer early, unfortunately. He's so far our least favorite of the spirits. And even better, he is the last of our spirits. So guys, if you liked these champion reviews, please consider looking at some of the other videos or even hitting that subscribe button down below. If you prefer Twitch and you want to be able to interact and ask questions, feel free to visit us over at twitch.tv/SprinkleBeard. SprinkleBeard. Wow. You think how much I say my own name, that would be a little bit easier. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and until that next time, ta-ta.